2 years ago, I bought this property. A year ago, I started actively working it, and today, for me, is the culmination of meaningful progress. I have built my first terrace, and I'm elated because it's not just the terrace, it's the system that's gonna go into it. I start with building a pond, which looks like a dam. Then I build the terrace, then I plant the terrace, and as soon as I complete a section, which can be anywhere from 1 to 5-ish acres, then I just rinse and repeat that cycle. And the reason I'm so excited is that I'm gonna show you the process of me learning how to use the dozer to make the terrace. And then the second reason is that I actually have a system where this doesn't feel so overwhelming. The fans have really helped me with the planning and given me comments on the Google Doc, where it's helped me think, it's clarified the process, and now that I'm not stuck in the brainstorming phase, I'm able to get to the fun part, which makes for a lot better videos, which is doing stuff that moves the needle. It's not just ideas anymore. Here we go. All right, let's take a break and see where we're at. I've only been running for about 20 or 30 minutes, and this might already be done, but I want to see how deep it is. It's about 4 feet right now. Certainly bigger than the check dams, and it's going to hold a heck of a lot more water, but I think it needs to be a little bigger than that, to be honest. Not too much. I was trying to avoid tearing up more of this than I need to, but I think I'm going to do better going for about another foot. I have made a lot of progress with the plan because of all the feedback from the readers, where now I have the outlines of a system. The system is build this pond, and then once this is done, we go upstream to where the next pond is, and in between here and there, I build all my earthworks. So I want to get this even taller, which is going to require taking more and more of this slope. And then that'll probably be the start of the next swale or terrace is connecting this point as far as it goes up to the next pond. So it's this process of me feeling it out. The system is dig the pond, dig the earthworks, plant the earthworks, and then rinse and repeat. This is going to cover about 2 acres of drainage. So I've got 2 acres of drainage coming down here. I want to catch as much of it as I realistically can without turning it into the Hoover Dam, and then have all of the water that does fall on this part of the land infiltrate into the soil. When there's plants, I want to run a pump down here so that when water is available and when there is water available, that we send it as far up as we can. It's basically for irrigation, and if I get lucky and there's enough limestone and enough water where this turns into surface water, then I'm not going to want to keep surface water. I'll want to turn it into a sand dam, and a sand dam is my most realistic, affordable option for permanent drinking water. What's up? Yeah, I saw it from afar. Look, that's exactly what I had in mind.
Well, it's pretty rickety and shit, but that's what you get for what you paid for.
Yeah. Free labor, junk materials.
Yep. Couldn't find any nails or screws.
Okay.
So it's fastened with zip ties and prayers.
I mean, I think it's good enough for now. Hey, Stefan, while you're down there, how deep do you think that berm is right now?
What's that?
From the bank, how tall do you think the berm is right now?
4 feet.
Okay. It's about what I'm going for. I just need to, I'm basically polishing this off now.
Alrighty. So, is this like, since you didn't put any tubing or drainage down there, I assume this is just meant to be like a temporary thing, it'll wash out and then you redo it?
So I still need to, that's a really good question. I still need to add the sewage pipes. So what I'll do is I'll come back with probably 3 or 4 sewage pipes, make them 20 feet long so that they easily get through that berm. And then they're just gonna be slightly angled up, and then that way no sediment gets in the pipes. So now,
unless maybe I should have put one more
no.
one more line in the center, you think?
Okay, so this is
Up on your right.
you actually want to lean it back so that it's coming up
right
against the line. Yeah.
Yeah, the elasticity of the rope is not an aid.
No. Here, go ahead and lean it back even more that way. All right, so it's too high by that much.
On the right?
So yeah. That was the wrong way. Too much. A little more. There you go. That's it.
Okay.
And then so where that is, you're just gonna put a little spray paint at the base where that is standing. And then don't pick it up. Yep, you don't even need that much. You can just.
Oh, okay.
And then now you just.
And then wait, don't you need to do the other foot?
Yeah, actually I do. All right, and then now you just take this.
Rotate it around. Got it.
And vegetation's in the way. It's only gotta last an hour.
All right.
Good?
Yeah.
It actually turned out to be really helpful for having you mark all those spots because it kept me here. And also, I need to think about where I want the swale to fail, where I want the overflow to go, and I do not want any overflow over there. I want all the overflow coming out on this side. So I'm glad I stopped here because now there's plenty of room for all the water to wash out that way and then go down the arroyo. So what I'm gonna do is, I think it'll help if I make a couple more passes, and instead of having the bank sloped like this, I want it more sloped like this. Try to get the swale size up pretty decent because that's gonna control the depth and the amount of water it holds. But I'm still learning, so I just kinda gotta eyeball it and we'll see how it turns out. And then when it looks pretty good eyeball-ish, then we can have you go through with the A-frame again, and I'll help you, and we'll just see how it came out.
So you've got this flat path here, and then you got the buildup on the right-hand side. You want to knock the buildup down?
Yes.
Okay.
So that it's not so craggly. Like I ideally would like to be able to at least ride a bicycle on it, but a tractor would be nice.
I thought the idea is like you have water coming down the downslope. You want to hold it and have it run along here.
Yeah, I want it to run out over there, and then so hold as much water as we can here. When there's excess, dump it out that way.
What? Hang on. I think I finally, just like the bathtub concept, but you're doing it along the entire slope to hold in, soak down in. It'll end up down there in the bottom eventually, but you want it to soak down into the ground, and then
Exactly.
Finally, it's like
Yeah.
registering?
I mean, I don't know. In my head, it's so obvious because I think about it constantly. But I haven't had to explain it yet, and that usually means I do a poor job. I knew that I wanted mostly terraces, and you could call this a swale. You could call this a reverse bench cut terrace. There's so many words for it.
A lot of things, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not trying to make this 2 feet, 3 feet deep. By the time that gets knocked down, this might only be maybe a foot deep. Extreme rain event, maybe 30% of the rain is sheeting.
Okay.
Right, and so kind of a rule of thumb for predicting your max rainfall is what is your average rainfall?
Okay.
Houston's a good example. You have 48 inches of annual rain,
Okay.
and Harvey dumped 44. Okay, so you're thinking like, what is the worst case scenario? How much water might I get in a very compressed period of time? For me, I get 14 inches here. Likely worst case scenario is 14 inches in a day.
Okay.
And if 30% runs off, that's still 3-4 inches. So, I mean, it's a lot of water. It's gonna be a lot of water, but the goal is get it here, and then if whatever dumps out, that it dumps in the arroyo.
Lock up as much as possible in the soil. Plants will go crazy. They'll start rooting.
Correct.
Okay.
So I may have overdone the ponds. The pond is 4 feet deep, that one I dug today. So if this is a foot deep, the chances of this overflowing are relatively low, and then the chances of it overflowing the pond is relatively low, but you got to plan for it.
Well, that's fine, because then it'll break somewhere. Like, you'll have
Yeah.
a clear path, and you're like, okay, here's where water's going, and then you have something to play with. Like, it doesn't really
Yes.
matter what you build. You just throw something out. Water will do whatever it's going to do, and then like, okay, where to go from here next year?
Yeah, it's okay. I'm planning to fail. I think I've built it big enough, but I'm not banking on it. I think I'm just going to focus on this part, because this actually, like, even standing on this high part here, so you can see there's low spots, there's a little high spot, but what I like about making this is a little deeper is you also give yourself more tolerance for error. So if this is a foot deep and I'm 6 inches off of my elevation, I'm okay. So I could either cant it exactly like you said, where I run the blade like this,
Right.
or I literally put the bulldozer here with the blade and walk it, and it flattens it out and it makes it a flat top.
Okay.
But I mean, the bulldozer, like if my feet are the tracks and the blade's here, it's literally gonna just make it perfectly flat in one pass because all this material's piled up. It's pretty easy to make it a lot cleaner, and wow, what a difference. I can't believe how steep this is. It gives you an idea how much material I've been moving. I'll finish this one. I might be able to get
Second level on this upslope here?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And I think maybe a third small one to the top.
Okay.
And then I'll move to that side.
Okay.
And that's the completion of the system that I can do right now, because I can't plant the seeds yet. It's too early. Me standing here, I mean, I know exactly how much higher than a pond I am. 5 or 10 feet higher, because that's how high I was over there.
Right.
Okay, so water being here is better than it being over there.
Well, because any water here will eventually be down there.
Correct. And so you were talking about, wouldn't it be better to have another swale down there? I don't think so, because most of that pond water is gonna, where that Ocotillo is right there.
Right. You're thinking 4 foot up here, it's going to back up and like basically bury that.
Correct.
There.
Correct. So I don't think there's any extra benefit to doing that. That Ocotillo will be pretty close to where the water, I mean, not quite, but pretty close to where the water backfloods.
Okay.
So there's just no room to, and that's the advantage to it starting the swale.
Will they survive being, well, I mean, they must, because they're down at the bottom of this, and they must get like some pretty torrential, like, stuff coming
They
in.
won't survive in like soaking water. So if you have like a flood event, this backs up and it soaks in the soil. I mean, they'll be submerged for a couple hours. They'll be fine.
Okay.
But yeah, if it's like for 2 weeks where they're submerged, they're dead.
If you had 2 weeks of standing water, you'd probably be delighted.
I would be thrilled. Goodbye, Ocotillo. Your purpose is over. The problem with this is that if I put the pond here, then it moves all the swales. And if I move all the swales, it moves the pond. There's a lot to be said for just pick the best spot for the pond.
Yeah, see, this is what kept, like, I'm envisioning like a pond, like a little round hole dug in the dirt.
Right.
And so when they come out and you kept pointing to this mount, like what I would call a dam.
Yeah.
The pond, and I'm finally it kind of clicked with me. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, so the pond, the dam, whatever.
Sure.
Then we have the terrace, swale, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, you just got to do it to get a feel for what's the best process. And for me, it helps so much to pick where the most realistic spot to put the dam is.
Okay.
Once the dam is in, then I put earthworks.
Okay.
And then the plants go based on the earthworks. It's just having, like, knowing which order to pick things has made my life so much easier. Because when you're trying to plan and you don't know where to get started, you're just spinning your wheels.
So how far down is this gully, arroyo? What are we calling this?
So from top to bottom, I think it's 25 to 30 feet.
Well, no. What I was wondering is how far does this extend?
All the way to my property line. This is why I picked this.
Which is what? Like you got... Like,
so if you following the meandering,
yes,
it's 0.7 miles. But what's cool is I read the hydrology reports. Once this water is in the soil, it moves a foot a day. It is a lot. That's drastic for groundwater.
Yeah.
But going 0.7 miles, it's going to take 10 years for any underground water to leave my property. I don't know. I've been hitting clay pockets. I don't see any right here. But right where the pond is, I got so lucky. There's a big pocket of clay. So if I need to line the pond, it's right there.
Okay. Yeah, see, I mean, just looking at it, all I make out is like, well, it ain't just rock that seems kind of powdery. I guess that's maybe...
It's taking a long time for me to learn how to understand what I'm looking at. So, like, obviously this is gravel. You don't need any background. I did a soil test, so I know my exact soil composition, but it takes a while for me to look at the dirt and distinguish between silt and clay. And so for a while I'd have to do the spit test, like literally spit in my hand, put some dirt in there and see if it's sticky. Okay. And then now when I run the dozer, I've done that test enough that I can just look at it and know that's clay, that's all silt and sand. It's
What about this, like, little darker?
That's limestone gravel.
Okay.
Especially this stuff, like this is all limestone. These are big chunks of limestone. Our current forecast is average odds for winter rain. It's really once in a blue moon thing. I read a study on plant growth in the Chihuahuan Desert over a 27-year study period. It was, I forget the percentage of the growth, but almost all the growth came in 3 separate years. Okay. And all 3 of those years were heavy winter rain. What is interesting is the impact on the plant growth. So you have almost all the rain happen in 3 out of 27 years. But in those years, that's where all the plants go nuts. So what I'm planning for is that roughly once a decade rain event that we get all of this water, because you only get it a day, a week. And my neighbor Bill has talked about this, where I think 2 or 3 years ago, we had a big rain event, and we have some temporary lakes on the north side of the Eagle Mountains, and they'll hold water for almost a year, but that only happens in a heavy, not only an El Nino year, but a heavy El Nino year. The summer rain is the the reliable rain, which ain't that reliable. Right. But like, we do get rain in the summer, but it's not unheard of for us to go 9-10 months without a drop. Luckily, this is semi-arid and not arid.
Hence, it's so essential when it does come, you gotta like hoover up every last drop you possibly can.
Every single thing, which is why I spent all that money on the bulldozer, and I'm learning how to operate a bulldozer, because doing this on Sean's part-time schedule
right.
by hand is not happening. So
how far up this way is this going?
So where the dirt bathtubs stop, that's the property line. Oh, okay. More or less. Like, okay. I didn't try to go like right to the line, but pretty much that's the property line. And I have my neighbor on 3 sides is the state of Texas, specifically UTEP, and they run a 41,000 acre biological geological research preserve. Okay. So essentially, I'm surrounded on 3 sides by protected land. Like, I talked to the main geologist there. He put me on to like some general orientation. Okay. What's interesting, and I told you the geology is crazy complex here. Yeah. So down by the river, the depth to bedrock is up to 3,000 feet. 6
inches down, you have limestone. Like, what's bedrock? I mean...
Oh, well, okay, the depth to restrictive layer, whether it's bedrock or caliche or...
How restrictive? I mean...
Water can't penetrate.
Okay, just like flat out not happening.
No water, yeah, not happening.
Okay, not just very, very, very slowly, just full stop.
Right.
Okay.
So down by the river, it can be 3,000 feet, but on my road, there's exposed limestone. And my property is the transition line. So I have 0 soil depth in tiny little parts, including just around that bend. Okay. But over where my property line is on the west side, the soil's probably 500 feet deep. In that big wash where I was going to dig all those earthworks and I had the contractors give me the crazy estimates,
Right.
that's where the main soil type changes. So somewhere on my property, the bedrock just goes, and I was probably going to be that wash, but I don't know that.
So my one tidbit of like checking out your land is like from geology or geophysicists, I guess, with oil explorations. Like you put a little explosive and set it off, and then get the
Yeah, you get the radar basically.
yeah, the
or
radar
sonar.
mapping. Is that? I imagine that's something I imagine is going for like much deeper than what you're needing or interested in.
Yeah, like if you're looking for oil pockets,
Right.
you could be going to 30,000 feet. Well, maybe not that deep, but crazy depths.
But what's useful, or is there anything for like that intermediary? Just like, hey, what's a few hundred feet?
Yeah, I looked at ground penetrating radar, but that only goes to like 6 or 8 feet, and it really depends on the soil composition. There are methods come out here and map, but one, I'm on a limited budget. I'm self-funded,
Right.
and I'm not a millionaire, contrary to some people's estimates.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier just to make intelligent assumptions based on knowledge and then dig. And unfortunately, this laser doesn't have a level built onto it. But I mean, it's certainly so I can see that the left side is higher than it's higher than the right side, but of course there's a giant berm. How much am I tilting the laser? And I really wish this little doohickey had some kind of level on it. I don't like the way I'm driving the dozer, like how I have to get up so high in order to get the material. And I can get like one good bite where I get all the material on the side. The problem is that I only can do that once, and then the dozer has to start like really getting vertical.
Also, you haven't really cut into it.
It's been hard.
You've gone flat, and so after you go a few times and get a nice level flat path, you might come back and start canting.
I'm trying to. The blade's not getting the material. What happens is it catches on the right bank, and then the dozer starts to just drive into the bank.
Yeah, I figure that might be an issue. Maybe just like tiny little amounts at a time might do it.
I might have to.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So I'm assuming we should go from the low point.
No, we want to start at the high point.
Oh, all right.
And I can already tell this is lower than that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So maybe you can be like my traffic controller. I just want to, instead of like digging all this material and making it match that, what I should do is I should take this material right here, and then push that up and you just stand here basically and tell me like if you're not giving me a thumbs up, I need more material until that's clearly above that.
On the interior, it's a little high there. I'm assuming.
Yeah, so like it's going to be my job when I need material, go grab the high, because I can tell where it's a high point and go grab material and put it where I need it. And the nice thing about here is I actually have enough room where I can comfortably turn. It's not roomy, but it's enough.
I'm going to be spraying again to go for the level just along the high point all along this way, or?
So you're going to watch me work so that I grab this material and get it to where you say it's above that, eyeball above that. That's our first step. Then when this was looking higher than that, and I'll try to do that along the whole way. Then you give me the, looks like ish. Let's stop and measure.
Okay.
And then we'll see where we go.
Okay.
All right, so I probably need 20 minutes of working. The terrace is now complete. I really appreciate you sticking around for this episode. Thank you so much to Stefan for his support. I may have been able to do it without his help, but it would have been a lot more difficult. The fans are awesome, whether they're the folks that are coming out here to directly help me, leaving comments, like, subscribe. But honestly, if you're gonna do one thing, the best thing that you can do to help me online is to join the email list and stay up to date with Dust Ups. It's where most of the conversation's happening, and it's where I kind of bounce ideas off of the group, where I get the most feedback and I'm able to collect my thoughts. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.